All right, you guys, we are coming up right on 3 o'clock. Again, thank you guys for tuning in with us today. I know it's a busy time of year, so thank you. You know, our guest really doesn't need any introducing, but I'm going to do it anyway. She's fabulous. So on today's call with us, we have the CEO and founder of The Defining Difference. This is a coaching company devoted to helping people master the power of intentional choice to create a defining difference in their lives. She's also top 100 most influential mortgage experts in America by Mortgage Executive Magazine for 5 years in a row. And for over a decade, she has been the top 100 mortgage loan originators by US Mortgage Originator Magazine. And she now dedicates her life to empowering the growth of others by helping them expand their vision. And one of my favorite quotes from Cindy is that success is a choice. And today she's going to help us with our business strategy going into 2022. And, you know, Cindy, thank you. I just got to say, you have been such a guiding light for me within this mortgage space. You are one of the first women that just kind of extended your arms. You've always been there to support me and help me through anything. So thank you for taking time to be here with us today.
Well, Megan, I just appreciate you so much for asking. And it's been so fun to get to know you over the last many years. And, you know, you've been such a contributor to my coaching programs and my coaching group, sharing your expertise. And Barry has been so incredible sharing all the gifts of MBS Highway. So I feel very blessed to be in partnership with you guys as well. You've been incredible. And it's fun to be here. We're talking about really one of my favorite topics today, which really is about goal planning. So thanks. It's amazing to be here.
Yes, thank you. And the way this is going to work, Cindy has a beautiful presentation for us. Then afterwards, we will be taking Q&A. So, you know, if you guys have questions throughout it, feel free to put it in the chat box. I'll be monitoring those. And then Cindy, I'll bring them up afterwards.
That would be wonderful. And yeah, the way I kind of really believe in any kind of training is this is for you. So even if I'm not talking about something you want, you know, you've got a challenge around and you want to ask a question, feel free. I mean, this time is for you and I'm here to actually serve you in any way that is going to meet your needs. So I'm going to be looking at some notes along the way too. So no, I'm not checking my phone, but I've got a couple of things I want to make sure that I am sharing with you along the way. But one of the reasons goal planning has been such a big part of my life is that, you know, I put together some of the goal plans that I share really more for me because I really needed that accountability. And, you know, leading a very busy life, I wanted to make sure that I had something to reflect on day to day so that would keep me on track. So the beauty of goal planning, I mean, I know some people just go, oh my gosh, the thought of it is just like nauseating. But honestly, I want you to think differently because it really is about your growth. And the reality is we all have the ability to continue to grow, cast a wider net. I mean, clearly 20 and 2021 have been incredible years for the mortgage industry. Who knew that, you know, our industry would blow wide open? But one of the things I've noticed along the way is that those people that had built the teams, they had the process dialed in. And look, I was that way in my highlight year when I hit over 200 million in personal production because I built the team, right? I had the infrastructure created. I had my systems, my flow, my lead process. And so many people in 2020, when this boom hit, didn't have their teams in place, didn't have their systems in process, and they couldn't really prosper. They were very frustrated by the opportunity in front of them because they weren't prepared for it. So it's one of the things that I want to talk about today through goal planning is really be able to get you prepared as you go into 2022. We're always having to course correct to new markets. We're always having to look at how we're going to reinvent ourselves in the new year, right? So I'm going to give you some ideas of some ways that maybe you can cast a wider net. We know the refinance market is going to be a little slower in the next year. We know that our inventory is very tight across America. So I want to give you some key strategies that will really help you think a little bigger, cast a wider net, and be extremely successful as we go into this new year. So I'm going to jump in here and share a couple of things. One of the things, and just if you guys can, if for any reason you can't see that, please let me know. I'm going to assume you can since I can't see you. But I wanted to share, we've revised my goal plan just a little bit. And I want, one of the things I always do before goal planning is I want you to really assess where you're at. I recommend to my coaching clients that they assess their mortgage business every single quarter, because, once you've taken some steps to grow in one arena, there may need another arena that you need to grow in. So we're going to look at what some of those steps can be for you. So in looking at goal planning, I want you to think about, why are goals actually important? So without goal setting, we move from situation to situation in a reactive mode rather than having a focused path for our growth. Look, we know most mortgage originators, because I coach many hundreds of them throughout the US, are focused on working in their business. And most know they've got to, switch that up, bring the right team together and focus working on their business at least 3 hours a week. Because if you're not constantly intentional about working on growing your business, you're going to stagnate and you cannot go to that next level of success. And one of my belief systems is that, growth for me is not just about business. I think that we grow collectively, and we're going to talk about that today. We're going to look at 5 key areas of your life that I want to get you intentional about growing your business and improving your life. Because I always say, why are we working so hard if we're not looking to just plain have a more fulfilling life? Because making more money, creating more success, serving more families is incredible, but we also have to have a life. And look, I coach a lot of top performers and many that are over 200 million in personal production. And the reality is many of those people hired me for different reasons, not so much to build their business, but to really create systems and processes to have a better quality of life, to create the right teams so they can let go and focus on the business and not working in it. And that's really what we all strive for. I want you to think about this. This is a very powerful study that was done by Harvard MBA program. So that 13% had set written goals with no plan. They made 2 times the money as the 84% with no goals. 3% of the class had both written goals and a plan. They were making 10 times the money. As a population, only about 3% of the population actually put goals in writing. Many carry them up here in our head. And I'm telling you, the key to goal planning, and part of this came from one of my mentors, Jack Canfield, who wrote the Success Principles and all the, he's a very well-known success strategist. I met him at a mortgage conference, and Jack talks about the power of goal setting and the importance of sharing your goals with others and getting them out into the world. So we need to put pen to paper, we need to write down our goals, and we need to share them with others. And I highly recommend you get an accountability partner to touch base with at least weekly to help each other stay on track. So we're going to look at my mortgage satisfaction assessment really quickly. We're going to go through that roadmap, and then we're going to jump into my 90-day total success goal plan. And I just want to scroll up here. So these are the areas. And right now, I want you to just grab a piece of paper, something to write on. I want you to assess yourself very honestly. I am going to ask you to share your lowest score. And there's a reason for this, right? Because usually where we score ourselves lowest is where we need to start in terms of creating some additional growth in our business. So I want you to look at these key areas. We are going to look at your number of referral partners. Are you super satisfied? So you're going to score yourself from 0 to 10, 10 being you are most satisfied with the number of referral partners going into 2022. And 0, you're not so satisfied. And look, we know a lot of people now are focused on building referral partnerships in 2020 and 21 because everybody was so busy with business coming towards them, and we need to shift that around. If you're doing 80% of your business with refinances, you need to shift that around right now. We got to get very intentional about how you spend your time. So rate yourself from 0 to 10 with the number of referral partners that you feel are solid in your business that refer you consistently. I was always growing referral partnerships because people leave the business, they retire. We always want to be nurturing new relationships. Your personal production levels. Were you really happy with your production levels? Many people were thrilled, right? But now the big concern is, can you maintain that momentum as you go into a very different year, going into 2022? So think about your personal production levels. Do you really want to elevate those? I'll tell you, some of the people I'm coaching have got not so much, but I want to make sure I can maintain those levels moving forward. Your compelling client experience. How many of you have a really mapped out, compelling client experience? I can tell you from most of the people I coach, not so many. You have an experience, right? You have a process, but many have not put pen to paper for their team to map that out. And I'm telling you, one of the coaches that co-coaches with me, Stacia Weisschauer, she's gone through my Mortgage Mastermind Elite program. We helped build out a compelling client experience together. She has implemented this masterfully. Every single part of that client's experience is replicatable. The team has responsibility to it. And her business is off the hook because people are really committed to her because she's created this compelling client experience. So maybe you need to add in a couple of things to your experience to make sure that they remember you at the end of the transaction, because this is all about our post referrals with our past clients, right? And then your marketing execution. Look, I know for fact, this fell off the roadmap completely in the last couple of years. People didn't have time to market. It wasn't the focal point. And I understand that. Totally makes logical sense, right? But now we've got to get back to getting a plan to get out into the world in a bigger way, because, we've got to use our social channels. I mean, I'll tell you, Megan, the social channel through MBS Highway with all the video content you can do, kind of sharing the market message is one of the best tools in the industry, bar none. So I want you to really think about your marketing execution and putting together a marketing plan, even if you're just adding in a couple of things per quarter that you're doing to stay in front of your past clients and to stay also in front of your referral partners. It's really an important part of this. Your time, energy, and productivity. How do you rate yourself? We know you can be busy 7 days a week in the mortgage industry, working from, dawn to dusk. We know that. Look, I've lived it. I ran a massive branch here in Manhattan Beach, California, managed 32 originators. My partner and I built a region, and I was one of the top producers in the nation. I know what it's like to have a busy life, and I raised 3 children along the way. But what I learned is I had to develop systems and processes and the right support. And I really taught myself that, I could have this amazing, thriving business and also really have a quality of life and have some non-negotiables so I could be a great mom and a great wife and a great friend and still have this thriving business. So it just takes creating some systems and processes to get you there. But being productive is really a big focal point, like looking at how you spend your time, because many of us don't have a plan for the day. And I finally learned to teach myself that it was okay to have a plan. And I will tell you, all top originators in this nation really use their time very effectively. And they're not answering every call when it comes in. In fact, one of my clients, I've coached her for 8 years. She's one of the top originators in the nation. She will fund this year at $205 million, serving 351 families. And the beautiful thing is she does not pick up her phone. She listens to the message and forwards it to different members of her team, and she only returns those calls of the one that she needs to call back. Saves her an incredible amount of time. She's very focused in her approach, and she's one of the top originators in the US. Your high impact team. Look, if you don't have a team, we know as originators, we can't scale our business without one. So I work very closely with the people that I coach to help them build the right team. I've hired hundreds of people to support mortgage teams in my career. And I spend a lot of time working with people individually to build the right team, hire the right people, make sure we've got the right DISC profile for each role that you're hiring to, whether you're hiring for an LOA or a processor or, any kind of support. You've got to have the right team, because you can't possibly be working in your files every day and also be generating new relationships. And I've always said, and I remember Tim Braheman used to say this all the time, well, the one with the most friends wins this race. It's really about, we aren't really mortgage specialists. We really need to be relationship specialists. And so we teach a lot of strategies, how to connect with people in a much more efficient way, much more quickly, by providing some very significant value propositions that set you apart from your competition, because we've got to get you in front of people in a bigger way, provide massive value to them. And I don't mean through writing marketing checks to your referral partners. I mean by providing real value to help them be more successful in their own business. Good self-care. I mean, I'll tell you, did that not, even for myself, 2020 kind of flew out the window in terms of my own self-care. I had to really get back on the bus January 2021. I gained 10 pounds. I know me, I don't like to exercise. So in January 2021, I committed to a personal trainer twice a week. I have not faltered. I still have her to this day. She trains me on Zoom. It's been awesome. And I really had to get more intentional. So look, this one thing I know for sure, I've coached a lot of top performers that ultimately end up with some kind of really devastating health challenge. And without our health, we have nothing. So if you do nothing else with your goal plan, but to commit to greater self-care and getting yourself healthy, it's really imperative for a strong, successful business. So, and then your work-life balance. Do you have any sort of balance? Do you have structure? What are your non-negotiables as you're looking to create this incredible business model for yourself? You know, I will tell you, I always had, like, raising 3 children. One of my non-negotiables was I wanted to be home for dinner every night at 6:30. And my children would tell you, they're grown children now, that I was home every night for dinner. And my voicemail said, if you're getting this message between 6:30 and 8, I'm having dinner with my children and I'll get back to you at 8 o'clock tonight. So I set expectations, but I had dinner with my kids. I took 2 weeks off every summer. I'd go to islands because I was exhausted, but my children have been to islands all over the world. That was a non-negotiable. I got other loan officers to help cover me, and we traded until I had a production partner that could cover me when I was off. You know, those kinds of things are just critically important. So I want you to just put in the score. I want you to put in, like, what's your lowest score, and just put referral partners, you know, and that just says, okay, that's where you need to kind of start looking at as we go into goal planning. Think about where's your lowest score. And then you can start to, you know, one of the things I'd love to do, that the actual training I do around this, you know, I'll take each one of these categories and have you up level by one new choice that's going to up level each of these categories. But we want to start with your lowest category so you can really start to build some improvement in that way. And for all of you that are on this call, like I said, Megan is going to share your email addresses. We'll be sending you an opt-in. If you want to get this document, I will just give you the document for your goal planning. It's very helpful to have a roadmap to follow. So I want you to think about, you know, as you go into, we're not going to talk a lot about this, but, you know, really log. You want to be able to track your numbers. It's very, very important that you're tracking your numbers and your percentage of refi to purchase, tracking where your referrals are coming from, because you've really got to know where you want to spend your time. Where are you getting the highest ROI for your time investment? So you want to look at, you know, what was this year's production numbers? What were the families served? How many people have you supported? And then what do you want to commit to for next year? What kind of income do you want to make? Get really clear about what those goals are, and also jot down your team members. If you don't have a team, maybe you want to jot down what you're looking for. You know, maybe it's time to hire that LOA. And I know a lot of people have said to me this year, I'm afraid to expand my team because what if the market slows down, right? What if I can't keep the momentum going? I don't want to have to let somebody go. Well, one thing I know for sure, if you hire a great person, it's pretty easy to find somebody to share a great person, like for real. So don't let fear of a slower market keep you from growing a business. One of my very high level clients is back in Minnesota, and I was on the phone with him last week, and he was sitting in my living room at our Mortgage Mastermind Elite Retreat 2 months ago. And this was his fear. He was afraid to hire. He knew he needed a second LOA and he needed a marketing assistant, but he was very fearful. The cool thing is we talked him out of his fear. We got him out of his stories. We worked on, you know, creating that sort of action steps that he needed to take to expand his business. He hired a second LOA. He hired a marketing assistant, and his business is on fire. You know, so some people's business has slowed. His business is on fire because he is getting after it. He is getting out into the world and he's building referral partners, and his marketing assistant is getting him out in front of people in a much, much, much bigger way. So the other thing I want you to think about is where are your biggest and most painful business gaps? Where's there a missing link? As I'm coaching people on systems and processes, one of the things we have them do is really start to think about, as you look at how a lead comes in, where's your gaps? You know, one of my clients a couple of months ago, she goes, yeah, there's something that happens after the lead comes in and we have our first conversation Like there's a gap with lead follow-up. We have no system and process around how to follow up with that lead. So we have worked with them on filling that gap because it was a big gap for them. And now their conversion is significantly higher because they have a process around their lead conversion and tracking leads. That was a huge issue in 2020 because people were getting so many leads that they couldn't follow up on. And they left a lot of business on the table. I'm sure many of you can relate to that, right? So these are the 5 areas we're going to look at. We're going to look at your career and your work. You know, we're really going to look at what you want to do. I'm going to have you look at specific goals. I'm going to give you some suggestions if you're not sure what they should be on how you can build and grow your business. We're going to look at your health and wellness. You know, that should always be a focal point going in. I don't just mean New Year's resolutions. I mean, what are you going to commit to? That's what goals are. What are you willing to commit to? What are you willing to shift? And I'm here to tell you that goals don't have to be scary. They don't have to be, I'm going from like working out never to 6 days a week. Don't do that. Like you're not ever going to do that. Well, I wouldn't do that. Okay. So I went from working out really hardly ever to twice a week with a trainer and twice a week on my own. It's not a big commitment. So it works, but do what you'll do. Family and relationship. Look, it's important. You know, our relationships are key. I mean, they are key in our life. And we know this time of year can be challenging. People have distanced families. There's lots of health issues going on. There's a lot of fear around families coming together. I have many, many friends right now whose parents don't want to hang out with the kids because the kids have been more exposed. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on, but think about where you want to really grow within your family and your relationships. And we're going to talk about your own personal growth, your business growth. Like, what do you want to do to grow? Because I am committed to constant learning each and every day. It's part of my morning practice. If you don't have practices around morning rituals or setting yourself up for a successful day, it's really important to our mindset because, look, you all know this business is not for the faint of heart. You know, this business takes everything we got to be successful at it because we got to rise up every day. I mean, I'm coaching people each and every day to be their, you know, their best self and to make shifts in their business and their life. I've got to be my best self. So I have to have practices every day that keep me healthy, that keep my mindset strong, that keep me being able to support the people that I am here to serve. And then your personal finances. You know, we don't talk about it enough, but I'll tell you, it's a big deal. And for you to start to really educate your clients, not just on their mortgage, but really how to manage their mortgage. You know, that's one of the beautiful things with MBS Highway too. There's so many tools. You know, don't forget that when you're calling past clients and talking to them about potentially refinancing, they may not need a lower rate, but they might need a debt consolidation loan. So, you know, the MBS Highway debt consolidation tool is incredible. I use the real estate report card constantly to educate people about the market. I love that tool. Barry knows it's one of my absolute favorite tools on MBS Highway. And then we're going to talk about, this is what I want you to get intentional about. 3 goals in your career for the next 90 days. And look, I've done 1-year plans, 5-year plans, and all that's great. But for me, what I started doing was creating 90-day plans because our market would change so much. And sometimes I'd put together a 12-month plan and, you know, everything would change. You know, I remember years ago, and literally one day I was having a conversation with Barry Habib, and he said to me on the phone live many years ago, many, he said, Sen, I want you to lock like right now. And I did, and I locked everybody. The next day rates went up 1.5%. Everything changed. How we had to do our business. So we have to be prepared to be nimble and switch. So we're going to talk about your career and work goals. And then I want you to, on your every goal that you establish for going into the first quarter of the year, you need to have at least 3 action steps for how you're going to get there. And I want you to be very specific. So if one of your, you know, career and work goals, because you're low on your referral partners, I want to build, like say 3 to 5 new referral partners in the first quarter. That's a fabulous goal. One probably all of us should attain. But the reality is, how are you going to do it? Because to build new referral partners, you've got to get in front of more people. Are you utilizing your network properly? Many people don't. You know, I'll tell you, it was years before I asked my own CPA, you know, who he used for his mortgage business and could we form a reciprocal relationship. The weird thing is I hadn't asked him, and I've been going to him for years. And the day that I asked him, I got a over $1 million loan from within a week. We need to ask those people. You know, I share the story of being with my head down at a, you know, it was a, I don't know, I was having some work done on my shoulder at a physical therapist. And I was talking to this therapist who'd been in my local market for years. I didn't know him. I mean, it was new to me. I said, you must work with a bunch of realtors here locally. He goes, yeah, I do. And he starts throwing out the names of all the people that he's done, you know, work on their shoulders, their necks, everything. And he starts naming people, and he mentions this guy, Charlie, that I had never met. And he's got, you got to meet Charlie. So he ended up giving me Charlie's number, and I called Charlie. I said, you'll never guess where I got your number. I had a $1.4 million deal from Charlie within a week. I mean, I asked the question. So be aware of who's around you. Are you putting it out there? Are you keeping it a secret that you're a mortgage loan originator? There's a couple of things that I want you to think about. So I have this. I'm going to ask you, you might want to jot some of these down because it's not on this guide, but I want you to really think about some things that you could do that I have found with my coaching clients right now. I've gotten a lot of traction. So if you're not sure what goals you want to attain in the first quarter, I'm going to give you some suggestions of some things that could, you know, might give you a really high return in terms of your ROI. So I love creating a 12-month marketing plan at the beginning of the year. My partner and I always did it in December. And our marketing plan was it was not rocket science. All of you, you know, we make things too complicated. We got to keep it simple. All we did was take a Word doc and do like January, February, March, April, May, June, July. We just mapped out the months and we started plugging in each month. We would literally take an hour to map out our whole plan. So we did lunch and learns 4 times a year, every quarter. We would usually do our first one in March. So if you're a person that is not doing any education, I would encourage you to add that into your marketing plan. The people that are educating their referral partners right now are getting incredible traction. Maybe you want to grab a realtor and do a first-time homebuyer seminar together. It's beautiful. You don't have to do it in your office anymore. You can do it on Zoom, right? It's created so much more flexibility for people to participate and show up, because I did them for 30 years, but I'll tell you, still hard to get realtors to show up in your conference room. So this is a beautiful platform to be able to do a lot of education. But a 12-month marketing plan. So what we would do is I emailed my past client base the first of every month. It was in my calendar. I did it for the 32 years I was in the business. Every first of the month, I emailed. At the end of my career, I had 4,000 past clients that my partner took over. A lot of business came from that. If you are not marketing to your past client database, that should be your number one goal. If you don't have a CRM system that you know how to use, you know, that should be your number one goal. Absolutely, is to set up, because at least 20% of your past client database should be new loans in the new year. And that was consistent for me my whole career. Past client database, contact them every single month. There's a lot of statistical evidence that your client would refer you, but they don't remember who you were a year later because no one calls their past client database, or very few do. So I want you to think about, if you are not communicating, needs to be your number one goal. Going back to the marketing plan, I also had a database of realtor partners. Now, they didn't all work with me. I had 100 in my realtor database. I'd probably say 25 of them worked with my team, but I emailed 100 of them on the 1st and the 15th every single month in my calendar. My assistant held me accountable to that, stayed in front of my realtor partners consistently and regularly. I hard mail marketed my past clients every single quarter. I did it for years monthly, and then it just got really costly because I had so many clients. So I switched to quarterly. People say postcards don't work. I'm telling you, they do. I mean, to this day, if a postcard goes out, we get transactions. It happens every time, 100% of the time. And I always try to provide information on that postcard that gives them something of value, so they're going to hang on to it. We want to give them suggestions as to why they need you. There's a million reasons why people need to refinance. And sometimes for rate, of course, but many times it's not about rate. Maybe they need to consolidate debt. Maybe you should plant the seed that maybe they've got investment capital that they want to invest in a second property, an investment property. 3 of my clients just bought their, houses that they're going to rent, and they already have positive cash flow right out of the gate. Maybe they need to pull cash out for their kids' college education. You know, I used to always make sure that my clients knew all the different reasons why people would need to refinance their home. And there's so much equity in people's properties right now. That is a pretty beautiful thing. So really, you know, set the stage, because you might plant that seed. If you called a past client, you might plant the seed that, you know, these are all the reasons you might want to consider a refinance. And they might not be considering it, but 2 weeks later, you might have given them a seed, you know, and suddenly they're like, you know what, let's see if we could qualify for a second home. You know, we're thinking maybe it would be cool to buy a property we could Airbnb. You're giving people opportunity to create and build wealth. So you create massive value. So anyway, putting a marketing calendar together can be great. Starting a realtor mastermind group. You know, I'm telling you, it's so easy. I know people get very fearful to do this, going, what if nobody shows? You know, Jeremy Forcier, that many of you know, a massive originator, I think he's at like 260 million this year, runs a massive region in Northern California. Jeremy's a very dear friend of mine, and he has had a, you know, monthly mastermind group forever. He does coffee with Jeremy. I think it's brilliant. He invites a bunch of people. He doesn't care if 3 people show up or 20 people show up. Many of my clients have started real estate mastermind groups, and you can do them monthly, you can do them quarterly. All you have to do, we do a whole training around this where we've got all the topics that you can speak to. All you have to do is do a current market update for 10 or 15 minutes, open it up with a question, just create a mastermind experience where people are sharing best practices, biggest challenges, marketing ideas. It's a very, very simple thing to do, and a great way to bring people together and you become a valued resource to them. Maybe you want to build new referral partnerships again. I'd definitely, if you do, make that a priority and get intentional about how many people do you have to call weekly. You know, my simple process, I would call 10 clients, realtor partners primarily, that already knew, liked, and trust me every Monday. I had a list of 20, and I would call 10 every other month. Yes, I was in the core for a while, and we had to call 40, but I like going a little deeper with my clients and building connections. So my policy was to do 10 every other week, so that those 20 people were called monthly. I did the same thing with past clients. I called 10 on Tuesday and 10 on Thursday. And on Wednesday, I would call 10, usually realtors or referral partners that I wanted to build a relationship with the sole intention of getting a meeting. I wanted to learn more about them and their business, and I wanted to see how I could help them be more successful in the coming months ahead. Again, if you're not calling past clients, I've had this conversation a lot recently, even with very top producers that I coach that are now putting systems in place to call their past clients. One of my clients, a 25-year veteran in the mortgage space, had never called a past client. He got 3 out of the first 3 loans. He called 3 clients and got 3 loans. It was ridiculous. He's increased his goals now for another $1 million a month because he has a system in place. He's not making all the calls. He's scripting his LOA to make some of the calls on his behalf. So that's a great thing to do. Maybe you finally need to commit to support. You got to hire that LOA in the first 90 days. Put together what you need to do. You got to write an ad. You got to call your corporate office. You got to get it out into the world. You got to start interviewing. You got to check references. You got to run a DISC profile, all the hiring practices that we have people do to make sure you get the right person. Maybe you want to step outside real estate and you want to work with some financial planners or CPAs or trust attorneys. I've got scripting that helps you can get any meeting with a financial planner. And I've used it with my clients for years. Put it together for myself. It works like a charm. You can get meetings with anybody on the planet. It's a really incredible strategy. And my financial planner, in fact, I just posted just today, I posted a testimonial from my financial planner. And he was one of my biggest referral sources in my entire business. And my partner and I would go present at his office every January. So if you don't have a relationship with a financial planner, it'd be a great thing to add to your tool chest. If they run a small firm that you could actually get in front of their people or get on a Zoom meeting and update them on the market, great tool to build and grow your business. You know, maybe you just want to increase your production and you've got to get very intentional about how many people you're going to get in front of, how many calls you're going to make. Start doing video text so they can see you, feel your energy. Emails are great. Video text, way better. Open rate is much higher. Maybe you're running a branch. I coach a tremendous amount of originating branch managers. So I help a lot of people with recruiting strategies. Maybe you want to hire a couple of great LOs. People are moving right now. There's lots of movement because business slowed down a little bit and people are finally coming up for air going, I'm not working in a place that has a great culture. I'm not working in a place that has great leadership. So they're thinking of making a move. Maybe you want to recruit. This would be a great time to do it. And again, going back to Lunch and Learns, bring education into part of what you do. It's really an incredible gift, whether you're joining the MLS, whether you're joining Chamber of Commerce and offering to train groups. I think grabbing a realtor and doing Lunch and Learns together is great because it gives you kind of a partner to do it with. You know, we used to do quarterly first-time homebuyer seminars. You can actually target market through Facebook ads now, apartment complexes. You can get some of these people into your webinar or seminar on, you know, to really educate people on the benefits of home ownership. And that's one of the things I love about MBS Highways Real Estate Report Card is it shows how many people in your communities actually could purchase a home and they just don't know it. So be the facilitator of that. You know, I'm just going to really encourage you. Next, when you get this guide, you know, health and fitness, get clear on what you want that to be for you this year. If you want to lose a few pounds, well, then let's get clear on how you're going to do it. You know, if you will say, I want to lose 10 pounds by the end of the first quarter, great. But you better be really clear on your action steps. You're going to start working out. What are you going to do specifically? Don't say you're going to start tomorrow. You know, I've literally had clients on my coaching call physically with me, and we make them call the gym. We make them hire the trainer. Like it's the take action right now, right? I'm like, why put off till tomorrow, which you could do today? So get your health and wellness in shape. Look, we got to keep our mind sharp, y'all, because if you do, you've got all the tools available to support your team, to support your growth, to support your families. There's a lot riding on us to support not only our own business and all of our referral partnerships, but the teams that we support as well. And we've got to keep ourselves mentally fit and strong. It's a really, really important, and put that number one as you come into this new year. Next, your family and relationships. You know, we had a really, I lead in my Mortgage Mastermind Elite group. We do 2 retreats a year. Everyone comes here live. It's really a beautiful thing. It's been fun this year because we didn't do our retreats because of COVID for a bit, but we've led 4 retreats now in the last several months, and getting really deep on, you know, maybe there is a family relationship that needs to be mended or fixed. What a beautiful time during the holiday season. Maybe there's somebody right now that could use a little extra support from you and you've known it in your head. I mean, I'd love to give you guys all a suggestion that when you get off this call that you text one person, you know, or you pick up the phone and call one person that might really need to hear from you. You know, it can be a really difficult time during the holidays for a lot of people. And there's a lot of fear going on right now. But, you know, we had, I think, 3 clients in my last retreat who had estranged relationships, 3 men with their fathers. I mean, in one group, it was pretty profound. And one of them texted me a couple of weeks later and he said, I reached out to my dad and I haven't talked to him in years, but I'm committed to not have to be right anymore, but to build that relationship. You know, and I want you to look at your relationships because I used to do this exercise and think about this, like who's in your world that fuels you and who's in your world that depletes you. One of the hardest decisions I ever made when I was running my branch was to fire my processor, my personal processor. And she was amazing, but she had a horrible attitude. Technically, she was incredible. And I made the decision to move her along and hire somebody great with a great attitude because it was bringing everybody down. So maybe you've got somebody in your sphere that is an energy depleter for you and you need to help them along their way, or you need to spend less time, but get intentional about your relationships. You know, the old adage, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend time with. It is more than true. And the reason I decided to lead a high performance, you know, mastermind group for the mortgage industry is because I get to bring together 12 to 15 high performance people that are committed not just to their own personal growth, but to the growth of one another. And the masterminding and the best practice sharing and the relationship development is so beyond crazy what happens in that group. The level of growth people achieve and attain, and those relationships are bonded for life. And I'm going to actually encourage you to share your gifts with others. You know, we kind of sometimes like want to hide all these great things. Look, I would come up with amazing strategies. I would test them first. I would share them with my team. And then I was on the faculty of Loan Toolbox for 17 years. And I would go share them nationally, you know, with the national mortgage population, because only 10% of the people do the work anyway, right? So share your gifts with others and help other people be successful. It's a very generous thing to do. Your own personal growth. You know, maybe you want to go through the CMA program. Maybe you want to, what do you want to do as you go into 2022 to grow? You know, maybe you really need to study MBS Highway and really learn the financial markets. Maybe it's time to really focus on that in this year. Maybe you want to do a productivity class. You know, maybe you want to do what I did, which was join, you know, Jack Canfield and learn some of his success principles, because one of the things I learned is that, you know, learning to go deeper on our relationship development skills, which I train a lot around, is a really valuable tool in the mortgage space. Having the intellect and having the ability to lead people through the mortgage process is great, but having the ability to connect on a level that's going to make a life-altering difference for others is really paramount. So think about where you want to grow and make some commitments to what you're willing to do in this next year. I mean, listen to YouTube videos, you know, listen to other top performers and what they're doing to be successful. You know, you guys lead so many great trainings here at MBS Highway. Make a commitment to that daily learning. It's just, you'll be shocked what can happen by instituting some other great ideas and not having to reinvent the wheel all yourself. And then your finance goals. Really think about your finance goals. I do think it gets left on the curb far too often. And I look at the money that people have made in the last couple of years, but are you being intentional about what you do with it? Are you paying yourself first, or are you just buying bigger toys? I will tell you, I was extremely grateful when 07, 8, and 9 hit, and people around me were completely crumbling. You know, we had numerous people in my office that lost homes, cars, they lost everything. And I was very grateful that I had created financial goals where I did pay myself. You know, I started 529 plans when my kids were little because I was committed to get them through college debt-free. That was one of my personal driving forces, one of my whys. I was taught that by my father. That was one of my whys and one of my driving forces. But, you know, when I got a divorce after my long-term marriage ended and I got intentional about my finances, I hired a financial planner. I went through each credit card. I would pay it off and I cut it up. I no longer get, you know, wooed by the 20% savings. If I take out a new credit card, I carry 2 credit cards, one for business, one for personal. That's it. And it makes my life simple. You know, maybe you need to start paying yourself that 10% first. You know, maybe you need to contribute a little bit more. You need to take some of this great wealth. One of my clients right now, his goal this year was to contribute $100,000 to the charity of his choice. And he has accomplished that goal, which is a really big deal. He'll make 7 figures this year, and he feels so blessed that he wants to be able to help others in a super meaningful way. And then lastly, before we kind of open this up to questions and have a conversation, I just wanted to, in this guide, because again, we're going to be sending you an all email. You can opt in to get the guide, and we will definitely send it to you. But here's some other things, suggestions for fitness goals, health and wellness, business goals. So we give you lots and lots of ideas so you don't have to think of them all yourself, but it goes through all the different categories. And then just if any of you are thinking about coaching, there's a program that we launched for January 2022. I've had my Millionaire Mortgage Club now for about 15 months. It's an ongoing membership program, but we're offering a 3-month special to kick off the year for $697. It's a really, really great program. I'm going to be teaching my core strategies so people can really kick off the year strong, super affordable. We did that by design. So it'll just give you a flavor and give you some just really tough, great, amazing tools so that you can kick the year off strong and cast a wider net out into the marketplace. You can check that out at millionairemortgageclub.com/VIP. It's the second link on here. We will send that out to you. Or you can always just email my team at info@cindyertman.com and we'll be happy to get you information on the programs. We are half full on my new Mortgage Mastermind Elite, my high performance and my branch manager training. It's a 12-month program, my favorite thing in the world to lead, very hands-on for me. We take mid-tier to top-tier performers and really help them build the business of the life that they have really strive for. It's a beautiful program, starts March 17th. I would love to support you in that. If you'd like to have a strategy call to learn more, email us at info@cindiertman.com, and I would love to support your growth. And I'm going to stop share so we can field some questions and help you guys in any way that I can. And thank you, Megan.
Thank you so much. I always learn so much from you. And I just, I want to say, and many of you guys know this, before I got into the mortgage industry, I was a personal trainer. And I learned at that point in time that accountability means so much. Accountability and just learning from other people's kind of mistakes. You talk about these non-negotiables, and I have some questions on that. First off, how do you get clarity on what those non-negotiables are going to be? And then, you talk about how when it comes to these non-negotiables, it's really important to set expectations and get these systems put into place. So first off, how do you get clarity on your non-negotiables? And then how do you even know what systems to kind of set up in place?
Well, Megan, it's a really good question, honestly, because non-negotiables for me, one of the exercises that we do in my Mortgage Mastermind Elite group, one of the things we start with is a values exercise to get people really clear on their top values. And we really help people drill down on what are your top 10 values in life? And then what we're looking at is, as I'm coaching originators, are your daily activities aligned with those? And look, I had to look at this myself many times. Like when I started public speaking and I was traveling, the US speaking before mortgage audiences, and I was leaving my own children, and so having to really look at, what are my values and setting my own limitations. I use my team right now as my accountability partner because I get asked to speak on a regular basis. And I used to just because I want to help and serve everybody. It's just how I'm wired, right? But I have to have a filter. So I use my team as a filter to say, is this a good use of my time? Is this my audience? Are these people I can really serve? So getting clear on your values. And again, just really thinking about what is most important to you. Relationships are really important to me. That is one of my top 10 values. How can I serve my relationships in a more meaningful way? Growth is very important to me. So making sure that I am growing each and every day. I have 3 coaches in my life. One is a physical fitness coach, and the other 2, one is more mindset and one is business. I've had coaches way before I could afford them my whole career, because I believe that you can't exponentially grow, and, Tony Robbins always says the greatest growth we will ever have is the growth we do on ourselves, right? And that the better we can get clear on who we want to be. So again, getting clear on if you're a parent and you have children, looking at, are you spending time with them? One of my clients in my current group hired me because he heard me speak many years ago on a big stage and said, I never forgot, Cindy, you told the story of when your son went off to college, and I sat in his bed and I bawled tears going, there's no do-overs, no do-overs. I had one shot to be my son's mom while he was here. I'm still his mom, clearly, but you know what I mean? It's a different animal once they go off to college. So I learned that I had to switch some things when my kids were kind of mid-teens, because I wasn't spending enough time, but I knew that my non-negotiables were my 3 that stand out, and my kids would attest to this. Dinner at home with my family. My kids said they were the only ones that actually ate dinner with their family every night. But again, to even do that, Megan, I had to think about what was that going to take? I didn't have the time to make all the food, and I love to cook. So I hired a nanny, and I took her to the store and I taught her how to buy groceries for me. I told her how to make 10 dishes, and she would get the meal started and prepped so that I could walk in, turn on the broccoli, and sit down and have dinner at 6:30 within 15 minutes. That became a system and a process. It was worth the investment, because my big thing was I wanted to spend my time at work working, focus and intention. And when I was with my children, I wanted to be a mom. And so I was very clear. I was not going to miss my kids' sporting events. I committed to that. And we were going to do 2-week family vacations. And I had to really think about it. Leaving your business for 2 weeks, most people just think, I can't do that. Well, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to lose some deals, right? But you can get another loan officer to trade off with you and give that support to one another. There's lots of ways to solve problems. But first, get intentional about what's most important. If you want to be a better parent, you want to spend more time with your kids, then you got to modify your business. And people tell me all the time, Megan, well, my clients want me. They want me. They come to me for me. Well, my clients wanted me too. But if I wanted to scale my business, I had to build a team and revamp to sell the team, not just Cindy Ertman. We sold the Ertman team, right? So it is so fun to see the light bulb go off when people realize it doesn't have to be them. And I said, the day that I knew I made it was when my LOA started getting the closing gifts, because it didn't have to be me. That was ego. It needed to be her because she took that loan from start. She was the contract to close. I built relationship. I was the, mortgage solution strategist. I calculated the income. I had a lot of high net worth, self-employed borrowers, very difficult files. So, it is getting clarity about what's most important and then realizing, what do you need around you? Because people will say, I can't afford that. I'm like, well, sometimes you can't afford not to,
I love that you mentioned getting clear on your values, because while right now we're all, sitting here excited, ready for the new year, ready to tackle it, oftentimes what happens is we hit mid-January and people, they get a little burnt out. They're not hitting their goals. They're not going to the gym like they said that they were to reach their health and fitness goals. But I find that when you attach a goal to a value, that motivation goes a lot deeper than if it's just, a superficial kind of goal. Would you agree with that?
100%, because this is the thing, we have to be emotionally attached to our goals. So think about that as you're doing your goal plan, because, if you're not attached to it emotionally, you're probably not going to do it. But I want you to think about, why is it a goal? Like perfect example, having a coaching call with one of my clients in Tennessee yesterday. She doesn't want to build realtor partners. That's just not her thing. She has not had a good experience in her very long-term career with building real estate partners. So we really drilled. So like, I can tell her all day long to go build 5 real estate partnerships. She is not attached to that goal. It is not going to be successful. So we talked about what would really serve her. She wants to build her VA practice. She wants to work with more veterans. We talked about what kind of organization she could join to build relationship with more veterans. She wants to build a relationship with divorce attorneys. She has none in her arsenal. We talked about financial planners. I gave her 2 of my scripts to be able to set meetings. She's committed to build 5 new referral partners in the first 90 days. They're not going to be real estate agents because she wouldn't have done it. So thinking about, what is it that you want to create, and, what do you feel good about? Because look, I'm a big believer. You can complain about realtors all day long, but I worked with some phenomenal realtor partners, and I worked with some not so great referral partners, and you get to a place where you can let those go, right? I literally fired my 2 biggest referral partners in my entire career because they no longer served me and they drove my team insane. So, you get out there in front of more people, you determine, and then, the more confident you get as an originator. I don't know about you guys, but in 2003 was the year I hit 200 million for the first time. And I had a firing script on my desktop, literally. And because I had no time to spend with horrible people, or someone that wasn't treating my team well. And I would just literally read my little script and say, Mr. Brower, I just think based on our experience of working with you, that you would be better served by another mortgage professional. And they'd be like, are you firing me? And usually they would just switch it up and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, and they would be in perfect order. But I don't have time for that. I don't coach people I don't like. I want people to coach people that are genuinely amazing humans that want to grow. And we meet you where you're at. We help you get to where you want to go. It's not about being a top producer. It's about, are you focused on your growth? And for everybody, it's a different path, but getting clear on your values, aligning your actions with your values, that alignment creates a lot of momentum The clarity helps you get you clear on your path. Your action steps become more aligned with where you really want to grow. And weirdly enough, if you share your goals, you write down your goals, you get in front of people, you get an accountability partner to your goals, you just wait and see what will happen.
Accountability is so important. And, yes, you guys should definitely reach out to Cindy. She will be sending some more information. Thank you guys for putting all your emails in. We do have your emails though, so you will be getting a follow-up email from Cindy. But, if you're not ready also to take that leap into coaching, one thing that I have found that is really easy to kind of have an accountability partner without having an accountability partner is sharing it with your audience on social media. Share your goals, share the fact that you're at the gym, share the fact that you've been committed to going to the gym and your goals every step along the way, because what that does is, one, you're telling your whole audience. So that holds accountability to yourself. But then also what it does when you share your goals and you share the work that you've been doing, well, it gets people excited. It gives them permission to go out there and be like, I can do this too. I can achieve this too. And so do not take that for granted. And you guys have everyone in your corner right now. You have me, you have Cindy, you have everyone here right now. So, thank you, Cindy, for taking time to be here with us today. And to everyone on this call, I just want you to leave them with some final words of wisdom.
Well, what you were talking about just now, Megan, is so powerful, because when you're doing goal planning, I just want you to think about the fact that your referral partners, they need the same level of support. Look, I know many people say to me, I'm just exhausted right now. I'm just burnt out. It is a very common place that people are in. But just know your realtor partners and your referral partners are probably pretty burnt out too. It's been a challenging couple of years. So, when you're reaching out to potential referral partners to get in front of people, we want to not only build new partnership, but we want to begin to nurture those relationships that we already have. And I want you to call these people. And this is what I used to do. If you call, I'm going to use a real estate agent. You call a real estate agent and you're going to try to book a meeting for January because you want to get in front of them. You're going to meet for coffee, or you're going to meet for a glass of wine, or you're going to meet on Zoom, or whatever you want to do. But if you're going to call that person, I want you to make it 100% about them. It's not about you, your mortgage business. I have a whole training I do on connection to conversion, on how to build a deep connected relationship in the first meeting, and then how to get the second meeting, and how to secure the relationship in meeting number 2 through a high-level marketing conversation. When you are meeting with someone, all you're trying to do is facilitate connection. So what I want you to really think about is, it needs to be about them. I'd love to get together with you, Mr. Realtor, in the middle of January, because I've got a new goal planning tool that I've been working with, and I thought you might benefit from it. I don't know if you do goal planning, but one of the things I've been doing with some of my key referral partners is helping them get clear on what they want their goals to be for the first 90 days. And I'm committed to help my partners be successful. I'm going to play my part, and I want my people to be successful. I'm going to do whatever I can to help you take your business to the next level of success. And I'd love to share the goal guide that I received and see if you'd had some interest in talking through some of your goals. Or you can say, I'd love to get together and have a marketing meeting. I'd love to. You don't have to be a marketing expert, by the way. You can Google best real estate marketing strategies by top performers, and about 100 articles pop up. You can print one of those. I provide a lot of that training in my coaching, with my coaching clients, but the reality is it's readily available, and you can go in and facilitate a conversation about what are you doing to market your business right now? What's working? What's not? What do you want to do to market that maybe you haven't, maybe you're not using video, and all you are is a resource. You're just opening up a conversation. And then I would go back to my desk, and because a lot of realtors don't use CRM systems, I would Google best CRM for realtor, and I'd send them a couple links. All you're doing is opening up the conversation. So get in front of more people. Don't be afraid. They want your service. And lastly, if you call them and they don't call you back, then email them 2 days later. This was always my process. I would usually call them, and then if I didn't hear back, I would email them and say, hey, I left you a message 2 days ago. I know how busy you are. I'd love to connect with you. I've got a couple things I'd love to share with you. I want to help you be more successful in the coming year. Then if I didn't hear from them, then I would text them 2 days later. And then I would text them and say, hey, I've sent you a voicemail and an email. I know how busy you are, but you know what? I'm just going to continue to hound you until you respond. So I'd love to get together with you in the new year and share some strategies that I'm using to kick off my year strong. So don't give up. The number one referral partner I connected to for 2 years with no response until he eventually said yes. And he was the number one realtor in Manhattan Beach, California.
Love it. And one wise word that I got from a coach in my day is, oftentimes there is that fear. Well, what value do I provide? We just talked about this, but at the end of the day, as long as you're one step ahead of someone, you're able to help them out. Remember that. Thank you, Cindy.
100%. Thanks, Megan. Thanks for everybody. And if you have a question, feel free to. You can always send it to info@cindyortman.com as well. But hopefully we can get copies of this, Megan, too, so I can help reach out to people. But thank you all for being here, taking the time. Thanks, Megan, for having me. And tell Barry I said hi.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Cindy. Bye.
Bye.